What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. So here's a topic I get asked all the time. Should you learn English from a non-native English speaker? It's a controversial subject. Stick around. We got the answer coming up. Well, first off, you need to understand a couple things. What are you trying to achieve by learning English? Do you want to move to the United States? Are you trying to get into college in Canada? Are you planning on opening a business in the United Kingdom? Well, these are things you need to ask yourself first. There's no right or wrong answer to this question, but stick with me. Now, if you search YouTube, you see a lot of English teachers on YouTube. There's some very popular teachers with millions and millions and millions of views. I'm picking on some ladies here. I'm not going to mention their name, but they've been around since the creation of YouTube. They're making a lot of money at it. They're from a country in the southeastern part of the world, a very big country, a very poor country. So you might know who I'm talking about. When I, as a native English speaker from the United States, when I listen to them attempt to speak English, it's just brutal. Like, it's painful to my ears. Their pronunciation is terrible. Everything they say, I can't understand. I've been speaking English my whole life, and I have no clue what they're saying. But then you look in their comments, and they have all these people, oh, what a great lesson, what a great lesson. Well, if your goal is to speak broken English that native English speakers can't understand, sure, by all means, learn English from them. Another thing you need to consider here, if you have somebody who teaches you English for a low cost, or maybe for free, let's say you live in Russia or Colombia, somewhere trying to get all over the globe here, and you have somebody who's very affordable who will teach you English, should you do it? Well, maybe it's a good start. But you have to remember, you're always going to have to go back and work on your pronunciation, because non-native speakers, this isn't true for all of them, but most of them, they have some pretty messed up pronunciation. So where does this leave you at? Do you basically have to go back and relearn English all over again? Well, kind of. I mean, if you're trying to do this for a profession, nobody's going to understand what you're talking about if you're visiting Toronto, Canada, or if you're visiting Australia. People are going to look at you like you're crazy because your pronunciation is not there. Now, one of the jobs I work at, one of the companies, there's a Chinese girl, born and raised in China, who can almost speak spot on with a North American, more specifically American accent. Like straight out of the Midwest, straight out of, well, New York has a lot of accents, but it's very passable, it's very good. And she learned it on her own. So is it possible to hire someone who is not a native speaker to teach you English and pay top dollar? Well, yeah. I mean, that girl's pretty good. But it always comes down to this. There's times in words that she messes up. She will brutalize a few words. She's very good, but it's not perfect. So, I mean, it's up to you. It all comes down to your budget. Now, with the trend in China right now, the schools are hiring online teachers, and they just want United States and Canada. That's the trend. And people get very angry about this. People don't understand. They say it's racism, it's discrimination. You know, they say, well, I have a master's degree from the University of Accra in Ghana, or a master's degree or a PhD in teaching English as a foreign language from Nigeria, from the University of Lagos. But the problem is they might be able to read and write English, but they can't pronounce. They can't speak English clearly and fluently. Maybe they can in their country, but if you were to come to the United States, we can't understand you. So basically your PhD, your master's degree, bro, you just wasted your money. Now, I'm not saying they're not qualified to teach English, but they're not qualified to teach as a native speaker. So who would you hire? I mean, obviously, I'd go with the native. Me personally, I wouldn't hire somebody from Russia who grew up in Russia to teach me the Spanish spoken in Mexico. If my desire was to move to Mexico City and open up a business, I would hire a native speaker from Mexico. Why? Because they speak the local language of the land. Colombian Spanish, it's different than Mexican Spanish. Puerto Rican Spanish is way different than both of those countries' Spanish. Do you see where I'm going with this? So it all depends on where you want to move and what your goals are. If you're just learning English for fun, by all means, learn. But when it comes down to spending your hard-earned dollars, I would stay away from non-native English speakers. Now, you also have to understand, there's two different Englishes. You've got British English and you have, American English. Canadian is close to American English, but also you need to identify which one you want to learn. Because when people from London come here to the United States, it's very difficult for me to understand them. Same goes for Australia. The words are different, our sayings are different, our pronunciation is way different. And things, for example, like, we have a windshield in our car. That's the glass in the front. Or they have a windscreen. We have a parking garage. They have the car park. And there's just a lot of other things that I don't understand what they're saying. So you need to pick out what your goals are with learning English, which region you want to move to. But furthermore, if you speak British English, we can communicate. We definitely can. I have a good friend, his cousin just moved over here from London, and he actually grew up in Somalia. So it's funny because he speaks straight out of London, England, with that raw, grimy accent. And it's kind of funny, we have a lot of fun teasing them. But be careful in who you hire, and I hope this helps you out. And if I offended you at all about your doctorate degree or whatever from whatever country you got it from that you think qualifies you to teach English, well, it might qualify you to teach. The problem is, I went to college, okay? You needed, 60% to pass the class? So that means I missed 40% of the things in the class. So just because I have a degree doesn't necessarily mean that I'm qualified. Having the degree means that I paid money to get the degree. Do I know what I know a little bit about it? Well, yeah, a little bit, but people can cheat. There's a lot of other things. It's just because you have a degree doesn't make you qualified to do something. You definitely don't see me trying to market myself as a Spanish teacher. Well, first off, my Spanish is terrible. But even if it was great, I would want you to hire a native Spanish speaker. Why? Because you get more bang for your buck. Now, if I work cheap, which I don't, I never work cheap. But if I did, it might be a fair price. So it all comes down to what you're looking for and, what your budget is. But definitely hire a native speaker. And stay away from these channels with these people teaching you English, and a native speaker has no clue what they're saying. They're just butchering our language. It's awful, it's terrible, it's downright fraud. You can't teach a language that you can't speak. So I just kind of take that into consideration, and I'm going to go enjoy the lovely day as you see behind me. And make sure you like this video or dislike it. Leave me some comments. And in the comments section, tell me about what are some of your goals when you're studying English. Where would you like to go? What would you like to do? All right, guys. See you later.